Hello, YouTube. We are back with another Moria dungeon mode or dungeon guide. This time we are looking at the challenge for Phil Gashan. The challenge for this dungeon is you cannot kill more than 2 sentries. So there's a sentry right here. I don't have floating names off, but it is. Or I don't have floating names on, but it's literally called Moria Sentry. You could not kill more than 2. There's one that you have to kill in the dungeon. You can't go around it by any means. This is another one that some people consider that you have to kill. So if you kill this one and then the other one that you have to kill, you can't kill any more, which is fine because you don't need to kill anymore and there's ways to go around others. But you also don't have to kill this one. What you can do here in this scenario is have someone pull the orcs behind, like this guardian's going to do, and this causes all of these orcs to show up. You kill the orcs, no problem. When you kill these orcs, this door kind of opens up, and then a Moria guard shows up. So when you kill this Moria chief guard, he drops a bag. So, let me go back a little bit. So he drops a bag. It's automatic. There's this purple bag right here in my inventory right here on the right side. You open up the bag. You now get armor. This is Chief Guard armor. So what this allows you to do is bypass this sentry that's up here. So you put on this armor. Everyone in the party has to do this. There we go. So now, as you can see, this guard's like, well, what's going on over here? So now you can just walk on by like nothing's wrong. And then you can go on to the first boss. So that is how the mechanic of the challenge mode works, so to speak. You get these different disguises, and you use these disguises to bypass all of the enemies. If you're doing like a quest run, you're just coming in here for your first time, you just want to mess around, you don't have to do this mechanic to do the dungeon. You can just kill everything, loot everything, no big deal, complete your quests, all good. This is specifically just for the challenge mode aspect of it. But anyways, when you reach this room, eventually all the orcs in the kitchen, they leave, and this will eventually cause the first boss to spawn. So he has 2 mechanics. Would you like that pan-seared, where he may have already... And then he'll also do, I'll make mincemeat out of you. So what that does is, I think that stuns you, the mincemeat. He'll target someone, usually that's in melee, and he'll just turn to them and stun them. He'll do a big chunk of damage on them. But the pan-seared one... is that the stun one? I don't know what mincemeat does then. But pan-seared is also supposed to put a dot on you. There we go. Yeah, that's what I wanted to showcase. So I'm stunned, and I have this dot, and I just took a whole bunch of damage. That's what pan-seared does. So when you get targeted with pan-seared, you'll get a dot, and you'll be stunned. You have to remove the dot, otherwise you will die to it. So anyways, that's all the boss does. He's just chucking flaming pans at you. So yeah, once you kill the boss, this is the next little tricky part. This is where the 1 sentry that you have to kill is located. So what that's telling us is that the chief guard uniform that we got at the beginning of the dungeon is no longer valid. You can't use it to sneak by anything anymore because now everyone is notified that chief guards could be a disguise, so don't trust them. So now you need a new disguise, a new outfit that's like the next rank up in their little outpost. So this sentry guard, he sounds the alarm because he sees you, and this is the one that you have to kill. What he brings in is lieutenants. These Moria lieutenants drop the next set of armor. But what they also do that we just saw is they do this prepare the warband maneuver, which, fun fact, if you don't play PvP or you only play the Freep side, warband maneuver is just the monster player or the creep version of fellowship maneuvers. So that's just a fun little fact that they make these NPCs perform fellowship maneuvers on you or creep warband maneuvers on you. You just interrupt it and it's fine. But if you don't interrupt it and there's enough enemies around, it will do a good chunk of damage. So just be aware of that. But yeah, so you kill these dudes. I disabled the bell because why not? But now you have a new armor. So this blue one is the chief guard. This red one is lieutenant. So now you put on the lieutenant one. And now you're allowed to free roam the entire dungeon. There's nothing you need to worry about anymore. Nothing will look at you funny and question your disguise. You can just run around, do whatever you want. There's a deed to complete where you have to like collect certain items that are just laying on the ground. You can do the bells. You can fight enemies that aren't sentries and put the lieutenant armor back on. You can do whatever you want. Just be aware that the lieutenant armor, I think it only lasts for 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, the armor just basically falls off. And in that case, all you have to do is just put it back on again. It doesn't disappear from your inventory. It's just it will run out and you just have to put it back on. But yeah, so you do not have to kill any more sentries. If you do happen to be in a situation where your armor runs out and you're surrounded by orcs, a sentry spawns, and now you're like, oh my god, we've already killed 2 sentries, we can't kill anymore, the challenge is now over. It's not. I think the fact that you have to kill them to lose the challenge is actually one of the saving graces of this dungeon. All you have to do, and I'll showcase it in a little bit because it happens to us, is if you just die, don't kill the sentries, just let the party die and wipe, you can still you still keep the armor in your inventory, so you can put the armor back on and go through the dungeon, go back to where you were, and keep going. You don't lose the challenge if you die, so you don't have to kill the sentries. If you do, just let yourself die and move on. But anyways, this is the second boss. He's in this little room, kind of in the middle of the map, so to speak. This boss has 3 phases. So the first one, he has these double blades, and basically all you have to do this first phase is interrupt him, and then he'll put poisons on people. That's all you have to do in this first part. It's not super challenging, just you gotta remove the poisons. This bear isn't removing his poison, so that's why he's dying. But remove the poison and you're fine. The next one... Oh, so you see this that just popped up? The sentry has activated an alarm. If we take a look at the map here, it's kind of like a circular room. If anyone is standing on, let's just with the orientation of the mini map, if anyone is standing on the right side, you will trigger a sentry. What happens is there's a sentry and other enemies that path and walk around in this hallway. Even though this door closes here, the pathers will still get triggered by people in this room. So if you don't want this to happen, stand on this half of the room. If you stand on the right side or in this little square section, you will trigger the enemies. But they don't come into the room because the door is closed. So what's going to happen is that they're just going to be running at the door. And I'll show you that when the time comes. We've not reached the second phase yet. Okay. Yeah, this is... so this is the second phase. So we've taken out maybe about 40% of his health. And what he does now is he does reflect. I'll return your puny blows. All melee damage, not range, not tactical, all melee damage is reflected. But that includes bleeds. So if you're a champion, a warden, a bear, and a burglar, and you use a bleed, the bleeds are going to get reflected back to you. So I can do as much damage as I want because I'm tactical, but as you can see, the bear dies because he actually has a couple bleeds on the boss and just dies to his own bleeds. But yeah, so that is an insane reflect. Reflects 200% damage, and it lasts 30 seconds. So if your entire group is, let's say we got a guardian, we got a bear, let's say this, instead of a hunter, it was a champion, and instead of a minstrel, it was a warden, and instead of being a lore master, I was a burglar. This boss would be insanely challenging, or, well, maybe not challenging, but it would take a lot longer, because you're not reflected, you're not going to be able to do a whole lot of damage. So just keep that in mind if you're making the group. But yeah, so as a lore master, I can just ignore all of this and be fine. It's no big deal. Then the third phase, which is... Oh yeah, here we go. You see these dudes at the door? That was from people standing a little bit too close to the door. But yeah, so for the third phase, there was these two lieutenants that were standing at the door. They now come into the fight, and so now you just have the prepare the warband maneuver mechanic as well as the boss. And then the boss just does these silencing effects throughout the last bit of the fight. But that's all you have to do. You do have to kill the lieutenants to end the fight, but you don't have to kill them first. It doesn't matter when you kill them. They do have to die in order for the fight to end. But yes, as you can see, there's an army of orcs on the other side of this door, and they're trying to get into the room. They can't because the door's there. But in this army of orcs, there is a couple of sentries. We can't kill any sentries. I guess we could kill one, but we can't kill more than one. And there's multiple in this group. So this means that when we kill the boss and these doors open, we have to let ourselves die. So we've killed the lieutenants. We're now killing the boss. Boss has died. Right, so boss is gonna die off of this fellowship maneuver. The doors open. All of these orcs come running in. And we're just letting ourselves die. So we die. We're back at the spawn at the beginning of the dungeon. We just put on our armor again. We have still only killed one sentry. We can now walk back up. Return to the boss room. Loot the chest. This is where the boss was, right? We can just loot the chest, get our loot. And now we can move on to the next boss. This boss here is... It is the stupidest fight in this entire game. and I'll break it down. But so what happens is the boss has 3 phases. Phase 1, he's invulnerable to damage, right? He can't take any damage until he steps into this trap. The trap is placed by the archer here. I think it's called like the Fang Tongue or something like that. So the Fang Tongue or the archer will say, "Mind your feet." That means he's going to place a trap. What the tank has to do is get the boss through the trap. But no one can touch the trap. If I walk through the trap, if the tank walks through the trap, if anyone walks through the trap will explode or be triggered. And then you have to wait for the archer to place another one. So what you have to do is the tank has to walk around the trap, then step in it, then the boss can now take damage. And I think it's like 30 seconds. So for 30 seconds, you can do as much damage as you want to the boss, and you just kill the boss. There's the Mind Your Feet. However, this time he placed it on top of the tank, and then the tank took the trap. So that was kind of awkward. But there's one or a couple of really annoying things with this fight. The archer will just run around the room randomly. You can have someone tank them, and just take the majority of the damage, and then the archer or the Fang Tongue, whatever you want to call him, will do a couple of inductions that you want to try to interrupt. But yeah, he'll just run off and place the trap. So there's the trap again. Everyone get away from the trap. We bring the boss into the trap. But there's 2 things that is really stupid about this trap. Number 1, because the archer will run off and do whatever he wants, he could put the trap in the corner of a wall. He could put it parallel to the wall, and then that makes it extremely difficult for the tank to actually get the boss into the corner or up against the wall without triggering the trap himself. So that really sucks. On top of that, the trap can despawn. If you don't get the boss through the trap fast enough, the trap despawns and you have to wait for another one. And that is really dumb. And so now you can see here that the Fangcasters kind of ran into a corner. So the next trap he places could be in a really bad position. Let's see. Oh, no, so now he's leaving. Right? So he's running around. I think he's focused on the bear right now. So he's kind of just running around doing his own thing, trying to shoot the bear. But yeah, so that's phase 1. It's just putting the trap, or getting the boss to walk through the trap, but without stepping in the trap yourself. And hoping that the archer just cooperates with you. But then there's the second phase. Are we there yet? No, we're not there yet. Okay, so now we're on the second phase. The second phase is the same thing as phase 1, except now there's an extra step. The Fire Fist. When you kill the Fire Fist, he'll kind of explode and put oil on the ground. So this little red square here is now oil. And then under the boss here, so there's the shield icon, there's this foot icon. The shield icon is his invulnerability. The foot icon is he just moves slower because he's heavily armored. And then underneath it is a little like flame. This is the oil. So now when he has that oil debuff, you then have to walk him through a trap. So there's the trap now. You have to now walk the boss through the oil. However, The oil debuff can also run out. So if not only can the trap run out, but the oil buff can run out. So then what you have to do is time killing the Fire Fist with a trap while hoping that the trap is also laid in a good location. So the trap was just placed. We're going to try to kill the Fire Fist as fast as we can in hopes that we can time the boss getting into the trap fast enough. We did not time it, so now there's no trap on the ground because the trap ran out, but we're about to kill the Fire Fist. So Fire Fist explodes, boss is in oil, the trap is kind of in a corner, but we're going to try to make it work here. It's a little bit tricky. And the boss has decided to just walk into the door, because why not, right? Why would he go in a straight line towards the tank? Why not he just walk towards the door? Why be cooperative, right? Let's just make this more challenging than it needs to be. So as you can see, this fight is really stupid and has many layers to it. And there's also one additional layer. This oil that you get from the Fire Fist can be triggered by anyone who does fire damage. So that's lore masters, that's rune keepers, that's even hunters and wardens with fire oil. The fire oil and fire damage being dealt triggers the oil, but it doesn't trigger the invulnerability effect. You think it would, because that would make sense. But no, we have to follow the rules of SSG, and they say, no, you must get the boss into the trap. So that's what you have to do. Get the boss covered in oil, walk him through the trap, then you're allowed to do damage. If anyone uses fire damage on the boss before he gets to the trap while being covered in oil, you remove the oil debuff and you have to redo it and kill another Fire Fist. But yeah, so you can kill the Fire Fist, you can kill the Archer. If you do, they just respawn after a couple seconds. I mean, you have to kill the Fire Fist, but if you do kill the Archer, that's fine. He will come back. There's a gamer myth or a legend that if the fire or if the archer isn't being cooperative and is putting traps in a weird spot or is taking too long to put traps, you can kill him and it's supposed to like reset him, and then the coding is so-called fixed, but it's just a myth or legend. I've never seen it actually work. It's just something that people say works. But yeah, so then we have phase 3. That's phase 1 and 2. They're kind of the same thing. Phase 3 is different, but thankfully it's a lot easier. So phase 3 is... So phase 3 is thankfully really easy, and you can just do whatever you want now. You can let out all that frustration, all of that rage that you've had of doing this dungeon for or this specific boss for what feels like hours. The boss no longer has armor on, so he no longer becomes invulnerable. You can just do all the damage you want and just kill him before the rest of the group dies. The Fire Fist and the Archer will still do their mechanics of inductions and doing a lot of damage and putting wounds on people. The boss will still put a slow on people and still kind of do good chunk of damage on the tank and whatnot. So like you still have to like do the fight, right? You still want to interrupt inductions. You still want to remove your wounds and all that stuff. It's just now you're allowed to do the damage on the boss without needing to walk around the room and force him into traps and stuff. So thankfully, the hardest part of the fight is, or the most annoying part of the fight is over. You can just focus on the boss now. So you focus on the boss, you kill the boss, and the fight's over. So we'll just skip to the end here. So This black is really good for tanks. It's really good for might classes. This is probably one of the better pieces that could drop from this dungeon. So this is why people want to run the dungeon, or at least might base classes do. Um, but yeah, that is Phil Gashan, one of the worst dungeons in Moria. It's not hard or challenging in that like the challenge is really simple. You don't need a lot of gear when compared to like Dark Delvings, which we've done, right? Where you're gonna need a lot of gear, a lot of morale, so that you don't get one shot by the AOE. You just need to remove your wounds and poisons and all that good stuff. But it's not hard or like challenging. It's just hard or frustrating because of the coding in the game of the archer being incooperative and placing traps in the wall and the traps disappearing and the boss walking into walls and then losing the oil debuff because the oil debuff timed out before you could get him to the trap, and then someone accidentally steps in the trap because they're not paying attention, and then the archer's running around killing people, and it's incredibly frustrating, and I'm surprised that they haven't fixed it yet. If SSG ever watches this, please, for the love of God, fix this fight so that if there's any more legendary servers after this, no one has to experience this frustration. It is so frustrating. It is so stupid that this hasn't been fixed yet. I don't think it'll ever be fixed, but it absolutely should. Every time there's a legendary server and it gets to Moria, no one wants to do this dungeon because of this fight alone. And it's this fight alone that kills the entire dungeon. Because as I said, the challenge isn't hard. Getting the armor, avoiding the sentries, none of that is hard. But even if you're to just do this dungeon normally, you kill everything, you're doing quests and stuff, and you just want to kill the dungeon, you still have to suffer through this poorly designed or coded fight. That, like, the concept is cool, but how it plays out is just, in practice, it's terrible. It's terrible, and you have to do it even if you're just coming here for quests and you don't care about the challenge mode. And so I really hope it gets fixed, but I don't think it ever will at this point. So yeah, that's Phil Gashan. That's my long rant about this dungeon. I hope you enjoyed this video. There's one more dungeon left. There's the 16th hall. I'll see if I can find a group for it, but what I may end up doing, just to make sure that I have a video done for you guys, is I might just do it on the live servers where I play like a level 140 or a 150, and I just go through the dungeon and talk about the fights and where to stand and what to avoid and all that stuff, because that's all I'm trying to do, right? I don't need to showcase the whole fight properly done on its level. I can just talk about it. So I might do that if I'm not able to get a group for it in the next coming up week or days or whatever. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you for watching. As always, if you like this video, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. I really appreciate the support I've gotten over the last little while with these videos, so thank you very much. I do appreciate it. It means a lot. This channel is growing, and I want it to continue to grow so I can continue doing these and focusing on this kind of content for you guys now and in the future as the servers continue to expand. As always, I will leave my Moria video as a video to click on at the end so that you can go check that out and look at the story that I worked on and submitted to Amazon before they decided to make Rings of Power, and come hang out on streams. I stream on Twitch under the same name or handle of Morgomir WD. Come hang out. We're a nice little small community that just like talking about film and television and books, and we nerd out over Lord of the Rings and Star Wars and Harry Potter and Warhammer and all the good stuff. It's just a fun place to hang out, so I hope to see you there. But until next time, thank you. See you in the next video.